making concoctions here, back to make more cold process soap. Before we get on to it, just a little bit of housekeeping. Links to all the supplies and tools I used are in the description box. You can also find links to my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram in there, as well as a way for you to support my channel. Subscribe, like, comment, all that chat. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's make some soap. The soap I'm going to make today was inspired by this pin I bought from my friend Sarah. She has a monthly pin guild on Patreon, and this was the very first one she made. I tried to incorporate every color you see here, including the glitter. Just adding my lye water to my oils. Everything's room temperature, and I'm using a 33% lye concentration. Just buzzing it up. Gonna pour off a portion of my batter for the purple that was in the horn on that unicorn. And the rest of my batch is gonna be pastel colors, so I added titanium dioxide to the rest of the batch. I'm gonna stir it in first, and then I'll buzz it up, and you can see how when you buzz it up it goes from a very, very off-white to very white, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now I'm going to pour a portion of this off for the green. This is about half of my batter. I'm going to add my blue to the one in the bowl. This is actually the same blue that was from the Jamaica Me Crazy soap. Actually, all three of these colors were the original colors planned for the Jamaica Me Crazy soap. I'm going to stir in the blue. But it is, I can tell right now it's not nearly enough blue in there. It's barely turned blue, and it kind of has a green tint to it. So I'm going to add more blue. This is that mica that I used. I don't like adding dry mica to batches like this because it has a tendency to speckle. So I am going to stick blend it a little bit more, get it nice and uniform. Normally I like to stir my colors in instead of stick blending them in. I'm adding my green to that batch that I set aside. I really need a smaller spatula than this, but hey, it worked. Trying to get every ounce of that green out of there. And stirring this up. This is such a pretty green color. I really, really do like it. Although you don't see it here, I did add more green mica to this as well. This is the purple I'm going to use in the un-titanium dioxide batch of soap. Such a pretty purple color. This is my favorite shade of purple. The name of this fragrance oil is Frosted Flurries. It has a strong menthol and spearmint scent. I wasn't sure how it was going to behave in my soap. I couldn't really find a lot of information about this fragrance, so I stirred it in. Now that the blue is ready, I'm going to pour almost all of it into my mold. This is just one of my Amazon molds. Just scraping out my bowl. I really like these clear bowls for the videos because I think it helps you see what's going on inside the bowl, but I kind of wish it had a pour spout. Next, I'm adding my fragrance oil to my green cup, and I'm going to pour it up high. I'm not really going for a drop swirl because I'm going to run a hanger through it, but at the same time I did want it to penetrate deep into that blue, and pouring it up from high helps do that. All of my green went in here except for a tiny bit for the top. Lastly, I'm going to add my fragrance oil to my purple cup. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add it not as high, but still a little bit high, and I'm going to pour it in slightly differently. I'm going to run the hanger through it. I'm still getting a hang of trying to do hanger swirls. They seem to be pretty tricky for me. Can't ever get those pretty swirls that other people seem to get. But I'll keep at it. I think it's less to do, well, part of it is to do with my technique, and then the other half is I just need the batter to be the right fluidity. Just adding the last little bits from my cup to the top. I am going to pipe this, so the top doesn't have to be super pretty, but at the same time I try to always decorate the top a little bit just in case the piping falls off, because we know that's happened to me in the past. And because if I all of a sudden decide I don't want to pipe it after all, then hey, the top already looks nice. So I'm just going to run a popsicle stick through it and give it a little bit of a cross hatch look. Again, I was piping it, so I wasn't too picky. Let me bring it up close for you to take a look at. I'm going to put a lid on this and force it to go through gel phase, and then I'll get to piping the top. So here it is about 8 hours later. Really set up nice. Here's my piping. It is tinted to a very light purple because that's the color of the snow mane on the unicorn. And I'm just going to pipe it in dollops. My batter was very stiff. I had a hard time piping this. I'm not real fond of this particular piping tip. I really think it takes a lot more skill in order to do it properly. So I'm going to jazz it up a little bit. I've got a skewer here and I'm just going to start swirling on these sides here. Trying mostly to get rid of that point. That point really kind of looks not so great in my opinion. I did this once before on my fairy garden soap. I really like this end effect that I ended up with. You can barely tell I even did this in the interior part once it's cut. I think it looks best if I hit it from every single side, so both sides, the top and the two end pieces. Beat down those witch hat tips. Time to add the glitter. I'm using Nurture Soap's Super Sparkle Enviro Glitter. Just being super liberal with it. There was quite a lot of glitter in that mane of the unicorn, so I do want that to be reflective in the soap itself. Glitter everywhere. I was finding glitter for days afterwards. But you know, I don't normally add glitter to a lot of my soap. Here's a close-up and a flyby. Here it is after it's all set up, just by the next day. First cut. Not quite the swirl I was going for, but you can see the difference between the blue and the green. I think if I were to make it again, I would pigment that blue and that green just a little bit more so that they were more obvious. But I do like how it ended up coming out. I really wanted pretty swirls, darn it. My guess is my batter was too fluid. But I'll keep trying and eventually I'll get it. Or I'll watch a bunch more videos to teach me. And hey, my piping is staying on, which is always really welcome. I had a bunch of people tell me I was waiting far too late to pipe. And while that was very obviously the problem with most of the piping problems I've had in the past, I do want to force it to go through gel phase, especially that bottom layer, because I don't want the top to go through gel phase, partly because it's difficult to cover the soap and heat it properly with a high top like this, but also because typically that top has a lot of titanium dioxide in it, and I didn't want to flirt with glycerin rivers, but there's a lot of titanium dioxide in this entire batch, so it probably wasn't as necessary for this batch. This is the final bar. It's actually my favorite bar. And here's a little cut end piece. That's the Frosted Flurry soap. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.